Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Chak, Wadash. Double understood the older apostles and bishops of the great millstone now rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David that is scattered abroad throughout the earth. Now, I'm going to just respond to this little minute video right here. All right, the name of the channel is Testify Apologetics. And, this is one of the angles that they try to use, talking about these anti-Christians. This is an angle that they try to use to debunk Deuteronomy 28:68 pertaining to the so-called African-American or the so-called Negro, all right, which is of the tribe of Judah, according to the scriptures, according to prophecy. But, this is a rundown talking point, and even the source that they try to resort to, they actually use it out of context as a source to try to debunk the fact that the so-called Negroes, the so-called Negro in particular, was brought over here on slave ships, all right, which is documented in history, and they will use this narrative to say that that does not fulfill Deuteronomy 28:68. This actually was fulfilled during the besieging of Jerusalem in 70 A.D. All right, so I'm going to show y'all that this is an epic fail on epic proportion, all right? So let's listen to this little minute short.
Street preachers claiming African Americans are the true Israelites, pointing to Deuteronomy 28:68 as their proof. Let's set the record straight. That verse talks about returning to Egypt by ships. After Jerusalem fell in 70 AD, many Jews were literally shipped off to Egypt and sold as slaves. This directly fulfills the prophecy in its historical context. But here's the thing, the verse also says, but no one will buy you. During the transatlantic slave trade, enslaved Africans were in high demand. They were bought and sold extensively. This fact doesn't line up with the prophecy at all. Plus, Deuteronomy 28 lists numerous curses for disobedience. Cherry-picking one verse while ignoring the rest of Deuteronomy 28 is a surefire way to misinterpret the text. So, while these groups accuse others...
So, notice how they don't really, this person narrating, he doesn't cite now one source, but we know where he's getting his talking point from. There is a source that they try to revert back to, and they take the writings out of context. They try to make it what they want it to appear to be, to try to debunk what we're teaching. All right, so he pretty much said that this was fulfilled during the besiege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, right? And of course, he quotes it like all the other dumb Christians quote it, where it basically says, and no man shall buy you. Then he follows up by saying that, well, the slaves, the so-called African slaves were in high demand, so they were clearly sold. Well, we've been through this, countless times, dealing with that particular understanding. When you look up the word for buy you, right, when it says no man shall buy you, the word there is quanab, which basically means to redeem. No man will redeem you. Nobody will buy you back out of your condition to free you out of captivity. That's simply what that means. So they always take that out of context. All right, but let's just go to the actual sources that they try to use. All right, and this is one of them. I'm gonna go to this here, and this is from Of the War, Book 7 by Josephus. He's a first century historian, Israelite. He was on the scene, and he gave a first-hand account or witness of certain things that went on during that time period. All right. So let me scroll down. You read this account. He's dealing with Titus Caesar, right? During the time of the siege. It says, this is chapter 2. It says, now at the same time that Titus Caesar lay at the siege of Jerusalem, did Vespasian go on board a merchant ship and sailed from Alexandria, which is in Egypt, to Rhodes, whence he sailed away in ships with 3 rows of oars. And as he touched at several cities that lay in his road, he was joyfully received by them all, and so passed over from Ionia into Greece, whence he set sail from Corcyra to the promontory of Iapix, whence he took his journey by land. But as for Titus, he marched from that Caesarea, which lay by the seaside, and came to that which is named Caesarea Philippi, and stayed there a considerable time, and exhibited all sorts of shoes there. And here a great number of the captives were destroyed, some being thrown to wild beasts, and others in multitudes forced to kill one another, as if they were their enemies. So here in this account, we read that he sailed first on his journey, to Greece. Then after that, he actually took journey by land, right? Marched down from Caesarea by the seaside and came to Philippi. And that's where he, indulged in, this behavior. And there was a number of Jake captives that were destroyed, and it was destroying them for sport. It was a high level persecution on Jake at the time. All right. So where do you see in this account? And I mean, and you can read this for yourself. You can read further down, but this is where they like to go to. This shows that there's an account that, you had a man traveling by sea, and then he comes into land and he sees captives, being treated inhumane. Where does this paints the picture that you had slaves on the actual slave ships being sent to the land of Egypt, a landmass where we actually went into by foot. There's several times throughout the scriptures where we actually traveled by foot into Egypt. Matter of fact, when Herod was slaying all the male children from 2 years of age and younger, the males, how did Joseph and Mary, how did they get down into Egypt? This is Matthew 2. This is Matthew 2:13. It says, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt. How were they going to flee there? They were going to flee there on foot, or, saddle a horse or an ass or whatever, or a camel, whatever. All right. You did not have to go on no slave ship to get to Egypt. You didn't have to sail by sea. All right. And anybody that knows their geography, maps, that's one of the things that about that region. You can clearly walk into Egypt from the land of Canaan. All right. It says, and there, Salakia, it says, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt. So that was a route that our people always knew. If they needed to flee for refuge, they would go down to Egypt. You had Judah back during the time of the Babylonians rising up, where the Babylonians rose up and made war against the Assyrians as well as the Egyptians, and you had Judah trying to make a pact with Egypt for protection against the Babylonians. And the Lord said, basically, woe unto you for putting your trust in them, because that strength that you seeking for is gonna fail. The Babylonians is gonna basically whoop both their ass, and Jerusalem is still gonna get conquered. All right. So we didn't have to board ships for travels to get over there. But if you listen to these devils long enough, they'll really try to convince you. All right. But this is just for reference. I just want to bring this out to prove that you don't have to go to Egypt in ships. All right. So what was Deuteronomy talking about? That we were going to be on ships and we we're going to be sold to our enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. But it said, but no man shall buy you. It doesn't mean that you're not going to literally be sold. How could you sell something that's not bought? If you didn't buy it, that means that it wasn't sold. I always say that every time when they make that argument. They're gonna be offered for sale, but no one's gonna buy them. Okay, so what was happening then? If no one bought them, what was going on? Bring out more of the history. What happened then when they didn't get bought? Stupidity, man. But like the scriptures say, the simple will believe every word. All right. So let's go to the other one. All right. And they try to tie it all in together. So this is the wars of the Jews. And this is in book 6, chapter 9. All right. And I'm going to just read from here, 4:14. It says, and now since his soldiers were already quite tired with killing men, and yet there appeared to be a vast multitude still remaining alive, Caesar gave orders that they should kill none but those that were in arms and opposed them, basically the rebels, but should take the rest alive. But together with those whom they had orders to slay, they slew the aged and the infirm, so the elderly and those that were sick. They're basically going to be useless. We can't use them, so kill them. But for those that were in their flourishing age and who might be useful to them, they drove them together into the temple and shut them up within the walls of the court of the women, over which Caesar set one of his freed men, as also Fronto, one of his own friends, which last was to determine everyone's fate according to his merits. So this Fronto slew all those that had been seditious and robbers, who were impeached one by another. But of the young men, they chose out the tallest and most beautiful and reserved them for the triumph. And as for the rest of the multitude that were above 17 years old, he put them into bonds and sent them to the Egyptian mines. Titus also sent a great number into the provinces as a present to them, that they might be destroyed upon their theaters by the sword and by wild beasts. But those that were under 17 years of age were sold for slaves. So you're seeing here that on this account, they were actually sold as slaves. But when these devils try to use this talking point, they say that, well, nobody bought them. So which one is it? So these devils, they're desperate. They try very hard to debunk the truth. And you can't, the scriptures say, Paul said it, you cannot do nothing against the truth before the truth. All right. And nowhere in this information did it say that they came on slave ships to Egypt. All it said was that they were sent to the Egyptian mines. All right. But Titus, it said that he actually went on journey. He traveled by way of the sea, and then he came to seashore. He came on land, and then he traveled down. So it doesn't say anything about how the slaves were transported. If they was on vessels, selling the Mediterranean or whatever. No, it doesn't say anything like that. It just said that they were sent to Egyptian mines. But this does not mean that this fulfills Deuteronomy 28 and 68, especially if you're going to continue to say the narrative that nobody bought them, that they were offered to be, they were offered for sale, but nobody would buy them. But yet, in this particular account, um, the youngins that were, still energetic, they were useful, that were under 17 years old, they were sold. So you're gonna have to throw this narrative out. So let me get this real quick. And that video, that short this short got 4.4 thousand thumbs ups. So these Christians, they're mad, man. There's thousands of them, and they're angry. And it's not holding up. It's a fail. This is the book of Sirach 3. In Sirach 3 and 25, it says, "Without eyes thou shalt want light. Profess not the knowledge, therefore, that thou hast not." All right. And you don't you devils out there, you don't have the true understanding. He's not dealing with you. So you're going to continue to stumble and kick against the pricks and try to go against the grain, but you're fighting a losing battle. All right. Let me get this real quick. This is Sirach 5 in verse 12. It says, "If thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbor. If not, lay thy hand upon thy mouth. Honor and shame is in talk, and the tongue of a man is his fall." And y'all going outside, you anti-Christians. Deuteronomy 28:68 has nothing to do with what transpired in 70 AD. All right, that was not the fulfillment. So, y'all can continue to, come against what we teach, but at the end of the day, more Israelites are going to wake up, which is prophesied that in a land which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was also crucified. I mean, you devils, you didn't did your fair share of blaspheming. Okay, you covered his face up. You say that his depiction doesn't matter, even though you introduced him to the world in an Edomite face to prove that you're superior to the world and you can go around and colonize and conquer, all lands and slaughter people and enslave them in the name of your religion. So this argument won't hold up, because going back to Revelation 11, in that same place, which would happen to be spiritual Egypt, that's where the breath of life would enter into his people and they would stand on their feet. This understanding, the inspiration of the Most High would come into them. The prophecy of the dry bones in Ezekiel, and the Lord putting the sinews and the flesh back on the bones and breathing life into them. And that's what you see here in Babylon, here in America, here in spiritual Egypt, which happened to be where we were brought by abundance on ships. And we were definitely sold as bondmen and bondwomen here. That's a fact. Okay. And then we can easily just hit up Google Images. Slave ships. And then you also got the names of the different slave ships too. All right. This is all biblical. And then you also got, let's go to this one, yoke of iron. This is an easy one, which is in the curse. And what do you see? All you see is a so-called black man, the Israelite man with a yoke of iron on his neck. I don't see no small hats. You know, there's no examples of that with yokes of iron on their neck. But they're the people though. And these type of videos that they make against us, they never make against the people that are perpetrating, you know, the people that have been perpetrating all this time. You don't have that same energy or smoke for them. So Christianity is going out, just it's over with. Christianity is done for. It's finished. Stick a fork in it. So this was a fell of a video right here. Testify, apologetics. You got to come harder than this. Okay. And next time, state your sources. Provide better proof of your argument. So with that, I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shai. To the next one, Shalom.